Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do start, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. We had Deku. We also had Albedo, Mina, Kai, and Bakugo. Bakugo is still suffering from some injuries Albedo gave him. And Deku, he's still trying to look more and more into potentially finding Albedo. He talked to Azimuth and told him quite simply, he needed his help, or he was going to do something stupid like try to hack the Omnitrix. Now, that meant quite a lot. Azimuth understood. Deku tried asking for Master Control, and then he tried asking for potentially a way to find Albedo. And that was quite easy for Azimuth to understand. The guy looks like a Zuko, and he's linked his Omnitrix to Deku's to make it work. He's linked inside the system in Primus. So, what's he going to do? He's going to give Deku one simple thing. He activated a feature inside the Omnitrix that will allow it to track down the other one. And that allowed Deku to find Albedo and potentially Kai. Now, Albedo was impressed, but he did make things quite clear. He knew Deku ran back to Azimuth for help, and that annoys him. Him turning into Humongousaur as Deku turned into Chromastone. Now, the two faced off, and Albedo, he may have underestimated Izuku, because he's not using Humongousaur, while he is. So, that certainly is quite an interesting predicament. Now, right now Albedo is rushing at Deku, and Deku doesn't bring his hands up. Him bringing them together and blasting right out at Albedo to try and attack him. Now, Albedo is going to bring up his arm, him growing in size and covering his body in more armor, as right now he's going to rush at Deku and try to swing at him. Deku actually going to do one thing. He brings his hands down and blasts at the ground, him leaping up into the air. As you know, Deku, he uses the force of his attack to set himself up. Albedo can actually go from swinging down to try and bring his hand up. Him trying to see Deku. And currently Deku, he actually tries to bring his hands down, blasting Albedo directly in the head as he'll flying backwards. Him smashing into the wall as Albedo does at least try and shrug off his face. Him looking towards Deku and rushing forwards. Him smashing his fist out and directly charging through the wall. Deku being sent flying, smashing down outside the warehouse. Now, Albedo, he is definitely a lot more annoyed. Him going to actually grow in size more and more, stepping forwards, expressing to Deku. It's already over. He is the strongest one right now on the battlefield. He can't compete. Hand over the Omnitrix, and he can return back to his proper form. He doesn't want to be a human. Now, Deku, he does a turn, starting to get Albedo. As right now he's going to look him directly in the face and fire a laser from his eye. Albedo going to actually be shot in the face, as right now one of his eyes, they're a bit dazed. Deku going to actually stand back up fully and rush forwards. Now, Deku, he does at least slide underneath Albedo. Him bringing his hands backwards and blasting out with finger guns as he does actually get back up and spin around. Him watching Albedo going to turn around and stare right at him. And Deku, he's aware of one thing. If that Omnitrix is like his, it's right to assume it has all of his transformations, all of the settings. However, it also must be locked out of many things. Albedo must not have Master Control. And that does do quite a bit. The two are on a similar time frame. That must be it. But that assumption is still bad. Try to limit your transformations. Try to make sure you don't overdo it. Keep time and still. Okay. But he needs to help Kai. If she's here, she's in danger. This place can come down. That on Deku's mind. And Albedo, he doesn't bring his hand up. Him transforming into another alien. Now, Deku's to watch on. Him bring his hand up as soon as a blast out of Albedo. Albedo already has changed. Him turning into Big Chill. Going to turn intangible as Deku's a blast directly into the wall. Now, Albedo does a fly towards him. Deku going to actually leap backwards and try to do a flip, as he does throw his hands down and blast down and fly himself up into the air. Albedo going to watch, looking up, trying to chase after Deku. Him going to actually send out a blast of ice directly through the top of the warehouse. Now, there actually is Mina. Mina has been tracking Izuku's badge, and she herself is worried about what might be happening. Now, there actually is also Bakugo. Bakugo is piloting the ship and trying to help. However, he's still worried about what's happening. What might they be doing? And this is an issue. Deku is trying to take on Albedo, but yeah, he's got to be confident in this. I mean, maybe they can help. That on Bakugo's mind. And currently Mina doesn't do one thing. She does at least leap out of the ship and use a jetpack flying down. Her trying to tell Bakugo that if anything bad does happen, to attack with the ship. And Bakugo, he doesn't understand. Him is going to prime up the weapon systems and make sure everything is okay. And let's get back down to the warehouse, where currently Chroma Stone, he is phase through and frozen solid. Deku staying there, as right now he does sit there like a frozen statue. And Big Chill does a turn, blasting out more ice, and then gonna step forwards, bringing his hand down and grabbing a metal piece of rebar. Talking about it, holding it up, that this was fun. Though, he'll just take the Omnitrix off of his corpse. And he does hope that he does understand. A sacrifice a hero will make for the greater good. Now, Deku, he actually does do one thing. He's heating up his hands and trying to just heat his body back up. Right now, his eye gonna melt through the top as Deku does to turn his head backwards and blast upwards into the ceiling. Right now, the roof going to explode as it does start to fall with debris. Big Chill gonna go intangible and fly backwards. Deku actually going to break free of the ice and dive forwards. Him going to actually bring his hand as there's a flash of light. And Albedo, he does actually go to turn, staring at Deku. Not sure where he went. Him looking around. And currently Albedo, he is concerned. Him going to turn tangible, thinking that Deku might have run off. But currently there is where Big Chill is attacked by Big Chill. Now, Deku's going to smash his fist out at Albedo. Albedo, alarmed and looking around, going to turn intangible and then feeling Izuku in the air. As right now, he's going to throw his hand out. Deku bringing his hand up, catching his, smashing his fist upwards into Albedo's face. And Albedo's quite alarmed. And Deku, he made the assumption, but he wasn't too sure. But intangible can hurt intangible. And that's perfect right now. Albedo changed before him. He has time on him. That on his mind. And currently Albedo, he does get alarmed. Him flying backwards and trying to stay away. As Deku, he's flying forwards. Now, Albedo is talking about it. He can't beat him. Besides, he is the one with superior intellect. He's already made 5 plans ahead, and he'll make sure to take him down. Now, Deku, he actually is looking around. Him trying to find Albedo. And he does see something. Right now one of the containers does have ice form on top of it. Him going to fly down and reappear tangible, grabbing down and smashing his fist in the container. Albedo going to somewhat bring his hands up as he does it to try and cover his ears. Him inside, Deku phasing through and grabbing Albedo, ripping him to the top and then going to actually throw him back down into the ground. Albedo a lot more alarmed as there actually is where Deku, he does it to fly down, smashing right into him as the two go underground. Now, right now Mina does it to run to the warehouse. Her a lot more alarmed by a few of the things that she's hearing. Deku and Albedo are fighting, and that isn't good. She can't see them or pick up on them, but Kai, she can feel her. Her gonna turn and run. Now, Mina does it to get into the room. Her, right now, bring her hands up and blasting the lock off of the door. Her, kicking it open as she's gonna run inside. Kai, gonna actually sit there in the corner. Her, gonna look up and see Mina. Mina, walking over and asking her if she's okay. And Kai is gonna bring up her hands. Her, talking about how she's really thirsty. Yeah, okay. Listen, we'll get you some water on the ship. But for right now, we need to get you out of here. Now, currently, the room doesn't feel cold, as there actually is where Albedo does a turn tangible and grab Mina. Her grabbing her by the shoulder and bringing her up into the air, throwing her backwards as she just smashed upwards into the wall. Albedo gonna turn, as shown on Deku just gonna fly into the room, turn tangible, and smash right into him. Him throwing his hands out, grabbing Albedo by the throat, and smashing his head into the wall, bringing his head up and blowing ice directly into his face. And Albedo does a face to the wall, him flying backwards and away. Deku turning and telling both of them to get out of the building, because it is unstable. Now, Deku, he definitely is a lot more alarmed. Him facing through the wall and trying to find Albedo, looking around as he doesn't see him. He's outside. Right. So where is he? Deku looking around, flying up into the air and not seeing him. And that's an issue. He's got to be around here somewhere. But where? Deku gonna hear a sound, turning and looking up to see that Jet Ray is currently blasting up into the ship. And the ship, it is cut directly in two. Right now it going to fall down onto the warehouse. And Deku, he has to turn back. Him gonna try and fly back inside as there actually is where Albedo is come smashing right down into Deku. And Deku, he's alarmed because Albedo used two transformations. Now, Albedo's gonna bring his hand down, smashing onto Deku's Omnitrix as Deku does a turn into Swamp Fire. Deku, alarmed, bringing his hand out and trying to punch at Albedo, but Albedo does it go intangible. Deku's arm freezing over as Albedo does smash down onto it, and Deku, his arm does it a break. Deku, a lot more alarmed, we're gonna bring his hand up, blasting out fire as Albedo does a move backwards and get away. And Deku, he does sit back up. Him gonna actually look at his arm and focus. Right now, vines gonna regrow as Deku's entire limb does gonna properly form. Deku bring his hand up and closing it into a fist. Before, he has a turn looking back at the warehouse. And the ship has already come down on top of it. And Deku, he does stare on. Him a lot more alarmed. As currently he is gonna run inside, bring his hand up and gonna get ready. Now, Deku, whenever he does gonna get inside, he's trying to throw things around, trying to find if everyone's okay or if some people are hurt or injured. And that, right now, is a problem. Deku went straight for the ship, because he assumed everyone would go there. It'd be a place to meet up with Bakugo and get him out of there and fly off or run, do something. Get the jetpacks and go. But Deku, whenever he got aboard, the ship was messed up. I mean, the hallways are broken, the rooms are... Jesus. Bakugo! Mina? Guy! Are you in here? Deku walking around. And there currently is to see somebody at a consult unconscious. Him running over and bringing his hand out. Him grabbing something as it burn through it and lift it up. Him tossing it to the side as he is to bring his hand up to see Bakugo. Bakugo with a massive wound on his head. And Deku, here's to grab him. Him gonna bring his hands down to unbuckle him as he has to see a massive piece of metal sticking right into Bakugo's chest. And Deku, he's alarmed by that. Bringing his hand out and unbuckling Bakugo. Come on. Hey, are you okay? Now, Bakugo does lay there unconscious, but Deku, he does gotta bring his hand up. He does feel a pulse. Okay, good. He's alive. Okay. You can't move him. Not now. Deku looking behind the chair. He does see some blood, but no, it didn't go all the way through. He can't just... Shit, he needs a hospital. Now, Albedo does come walking up, expressing he doesn't think that that's going to be quite possible. Deku turning his head, and going to see, right now, Swamp Fire. Him going to express, holding up Kai. Right now, he suggests he be more worried about his friends. He's going to make this offer quite clear, bringing his hand right up to her face. He wants the Omnitrix. Otherwise, his friends are going to be hurt. What did you do to Mina? Him going to actually turn back. And right now, Albedo does go to smile, trying to tell him. Mina was quite the simple one. the simpleton at the very least. He did not like her. Her species was powerful and strong, but the Omnitrix does have a counter. Well, at least for Enedites who don't know their own abilities yet. And Deku, he's annoyed. Him bringing his hands up as Albedo to light his hand on fire, holding it in front of Kai's face, talking about it. Make his choice. His friends or his device. What will he choose? Now, there actually is Mina, who, she was hurt by Albedo, but Albedo, he didn't take her down. And currently she does get back up. Her a lot more alarmed, looking at her leg. Which, ow, damn it. Okay. Fucking Jet Ray. Her gonna stand back up, and currently look around. Her limping over to the ship. Right now, her gonna actually bring her hand down and step onto something. Her gonna fly over. Now, Mina does a step aboard, watching right now as Kai stands there with Albedo, and Deku, he does stand there himself. And Mina does go to get ready. As there actually is Kai. Kai does have one idea, and she is staring at Deku, trying to blink her eyes, telling him what to do. And Deku, he's a bit more annoyed. As right now, Kai does a turn, bring her hand up, stabbing one of her fingers directly into Swampfire's eye. And Albedo does scream out in pain. Him a lot more alarmed, as Kai does immediately go to try and kick out towards Albedo. And Deku does go rushing forwards. Currently, him still holding on to Kai's hair as he has a pull. Now, Deku does rush forwards, bringing his hand up, grabbing his arm, and smashing his fist right up into it. And he actually does then go to grab onto it and rip it off. Now, Albedo does scream out in pain. And there actually is Mina, who is able to bring her hands up and see these two. Her trying to aim as she doesn't know which one's actually Deku. And the two do go tumbling, rolling out of the actual ship. And there actually is Izuku. Deku, he does go to actually smash onto the ground. Albedo going to bring his hand up and reform his arm, clocking Deku directly across the face. Deku bringing his hands down, grabbing Albedo by the neck and pulling him up, smashing him directly in the head. And Deku, here's a blast down fire directly in Albedo's face. Albedo bringing his hand up and smashing onto his Omnitrix. As currently, he has a turn into Humongosaur. Now, he does actually grab out to his Deku and smack him away. Deku being sent flying up in the air, smashing it through the wall. And currently Deku, he is not making anything better. And the building, it is beginning to come down. Now, there actually is Mina. Mina does this, don't stare on at that. Her going to actually bring her hands up and trying to stop the building from coming down. But Albedo does get a turn, bring his hands up and smashing down to the ground. And Deku, he creates a land down outside. Him going to actually sit back up as he does go to turn human. Deku going to try and get back onto his feet. And Albedo, he does come to walk out. Him currently doing so as the building does a topple down behind him. And Humongosaur does a stand there. Albedo smiling and smirking the whole time. He may have won. I mean, yes, it's quite unfortunate. His team goes down around him, but falling in front of him. He doesn't have his pawns anymore, but it certainly is something. Albedo stepping forwards. Right now, I'm going to bring his hand up and tap onto the Omnitrix. Him going to turn back into Deku as he's bring his hands down, grabbing onto the Omnitrix and pressing onto the buttons. As... No, he should have more time. Now, Deku does a stare up at Albedo, and Albedo does a stare down at him. Deku getting back onto his feet and going to actually start walking towards him. And Albedo does stare at him. Amused, however, still annoyed. And Deku, he's going to rush towards Albedo. Albedo rushing towards him as he's going to throw out his fist. And Deku, he's going to bring his hand out, smacking out of the way and bringing his hand up, smashing Albedo directly across the face. And Albedo's alarmed. Him stumbling backwards and falling onto the ground. As Deku, he's a step forwards, bringing his foot up and smashing Albedo directly down in the chest, bring his hands down and grabbing Albedo, getting Doki on top of him and trying to squeeze his neck. He's going to try and kill him. Deku bring his fist back, smash him across the face, and Albedo's going to bring his hand up. Him going to actually try and grab Deku by the hair, and Deku, he's annoyed. Him bring his hand down, and grabbing Albedo directly in his bicep and right in the armpit, smashing his finger directly inside his arm, right inside the muscle. And Deku, he can feel Albedo trying to fight that. He can feel Albedo just in a lot of pain. And Deku, he does bring his hand up, off of Albedo's neck, smashing him directly in the face. And Albedo, he does try to bring his right hand up to his left, him stopping him, and then actually smash his left hand to the ground, bring his left hand out, smashing Albedo directly in the face. Now, there actually is inside. Inside the building, a lot's happening. Mina, she was thrown around and was pinned under a lot of rubble, and her shield was the only thing keeping her alive. However, with all the force that was thrown around inside that building, it's done quite a bit of damage. The ship falling and exploding a bit, and most of this place coming down, it wasn't good. The rest of it came down Albedo smashed onto the ground. And that ship core, it might explode. Kai's aboard the ship, and she's pinned. If she lets go of her focus, she's going to die. However, she's just trying to remain alive. And that is not very good. Her wounds are bad, but Deku needs her help. That running through her mind. And there currently is over with Deku. Deku, him and Albedo are still fighting. Albedo trying to get away from Deku, but Deku not letting him do anything. And right now Deku, he's been beating Albedo across the face, over and over. As Albedo, he finds to do one thing. He has to throw his feet a bit more up, bucking his hips up as Deku, he doesn't move forwards. Albedo actually bringing his hand up and smashing Deku directly in the chest. Him hitting him in the gut as Deku, he actually has the wind knocked out of him. Deku going to actually try and turn as Albedo's to push Deku over and Deku's to land on the ground. Albedo going to bring his hands down and tapping onto the Omnitrix. Pressing the buttons and nothing happening. Trying again and again. Before they finally going to pop up. And Deku, he has a turn. Albedo going to actually stand there as Chroma Stone. And Deku, he has to bring his hands down to his Omnitrix. Him tapping the buttons and seeing the first alien that is going to pop up. And right now Chroma Stone does a turn staring at Deku, telling him not to do that. Otherwise, him turning his hand to the building. And Deku, he does a stare on Albedo. And Albedo does tell him, just hand over the Omnitrix. This doesn't have to get dirtier than it already has been. He is a primitive human and he doesn't understand what he's trying to do. What he's trying to do is return to the glory of being a Galvan. And he is not happy with being tainted by being human. Now, hand over the Omnitrix, and he won't fry his friends. And Deku, he has a turn fully to Albedo. Him spinning the dial, and Albedo staring at him. Serious. Him telling Deku, he has till the count of 3. And Deku, he talks to Albedo actually. Huh. The moment I hand it over, you'll kill them. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. That all depends on your next answer. 2. Now, Deku stares at Albedo. And Deku, he has to look down, seeing the alien he hasn't transformed into yet. Alien X. He could try a Lenopen. It should be right next to Alien X, but Alien X is only for desperate measures. Bakugo's trapped, pinned, and bleeding out. Kai's injured and aboard a fucking ship. And Mina's trapped. She's gotta be... No, she's not dead. She's alive. She has to be alive. Now, Deku does a step at Albedo. And Albedo does send a blast towards that building. And Deku, he has to throw his hand down onto the Omnitrix. Right now his eyes, they do to glow. And Albedo's blast is flying towards the building. Deku actually going to have his hair fly in the wind, as he does to open his eyes and see space. His body beginning to change. And currently, Alien X is a stand there. Him bringing his hand up and doing one thing, stopping Albedo. And currently, Deku, he does find this to be very weird. As right now, he's. Wait, where are they? Him looking around, and he's confused. Wait, he has his hands are human. But that doesn't make sense. Wait, the Omnitrix. It's not on his wrist. Where are they? Wait, they? That would be correct. Deku turning his head, looking around confused. Before he does go see a floating mask. Him turning his head to the other one. It's going to express. It's about time. Besides, they're just finally happy they have somebody to break this draw they've been stuck in. What's going on? I don't get it. Where am I? Where are you? Where are we? Are we in space? How am I breathing without a... I'm not wearing a helmet. How am I breathing? This one's quite strange, don't you agree? Yes, I do, Bellicus. However, he is a third-dimensional being. Human at that. I will say, it is quite intriguing to finally see one of them in action, let alone actually have him be our tiebreaker. Tiebreaker? Yes. Now, we do understand about how a few things are right now for you, so we put them on hold. We fulfilled your request and stopped Albedo. However, subsequently, we've also stopped all of time. I'm sorry. Wait. Stopped all of time. Yes. Right now a screen going to pop up. And Deku does see it. The way things are. Albedo's still chroma stone blasting at the warehouse, but it's like a picture. It really is a moment in time. Impressive, is it not? I don't understand. I'm turning back. He thought Alien X was the most powerful thing in the watch. Well, you may have heard that from your future self. However, that is still a very strange predicament. Wait, how do you know about that? Do you know it from... No, we don't. Deku turning his head. We know it because we know it. We're truly omnipotent. Is that enough of an answer for you? Omnipotent? Able to manipulate time. But that is powerful. Oh, no. You're talking about the clockwork species. However, what we can do is far more than that. I don't understand. Okay, so you can manipulate space and time? Oh, he is rather intelligent. Yes, I will hand him that. However, now, back to business. That we have our tiebreaker, we can finally continue. Now, back to old stuff. Wait! Him turning his head. And Deku, he does go lower his hands. Still a bit unnerved by all this. They can manipulate space, time, and reality. This is insane. He's got all this power in the Omnitrix. Now, Deku does look up, asking if they can solve everything he has on Earth, every problem he has. He needs their help stopping the hybrid. He needs their help doing a lot. He needs their help stopping Albedo and saving his friends. Maybe even bringing his grandfather back from the dead. Now, they do see Deku stumble over his own words. However, they were expecting a lot of that. The idea for him to be able to fix all of his problems, like that, in an instant, it would be too much for him. However, the two do tell Deku flat out. It is possible, though all three of them would have to vote on it and agree to it. But they've already put Deku's first official vote unanimously, and his business is now out the window. Though they don't usually focus on new business, but because he was, well, new here, they let him do that. But now it is back to the old, and they want him to vote on things with them. Agree or disagree? Should the dinosaurs go extinct? And Bellicus, he's all for it. Well, Serena, she just found them to be interesting little creatures. And Deku's confused because the dinosaurs are already extinct. Wait. Okay, I have one more question. Do we have to answer it? Bellicus, please. You said this isn't happening in a linear fashion, is it? Whatever so do you mean? Oh, I see, now he's catching on. I'm just asking. This is outside of time. I mean, you said you stopped time in the entire universe, but we're still moving, we're still reacting, we're still talking. So, we're not in the universe, are we? Now, Bellicus will go to explain to Izuku. They operate outside of space and time, and that is quite simple. For them, this is all in a linear fashion. However, to Izuku, it is harder for him to understand. He's experiencing things at the level of a celestial sapient, and he has merged with the consciousness of one. So, he would be correct. They're experiencing things outside of space and time, no longer on the third dimensional plane. And Deku, yeah, he understands why Alien X is a very powerful alien now, and exactly why he's, well, weird. Now, Bellicus does go back to the notion, trying to bring things to a vote. He votes yes, and Serena votes no. The two turning to see Izuku, wondering what he might agree or disagree with. And Serena, she hopes he keeps around those interesting little creatures. Now, Bellicus does not see a use for them. They take up space, time, and, well, they're disgusting. So, he's wondering what Deku will pick. I'm a little bit more intrigued. He has a feeling he already knows the answer. But at the same time, that's a problem. Now, Deku, he does agree with Bellicus. His reasoning being that the dinosaurs are already extinct in his time. And if they aren't extinct in his time, then he doesn't know what that might do to his time. Especially because they're probably not even talking about Earth. They're talking about everywhere, right? So, exactly what planets are they talking about? Now, Bellicus, he does try to explain many things. And Deku does understand it. They're talking about a planet somewhere out in space, but it's similar to Earth but not. The term dinosaur is a way civilizations classify primitive life. Bellicus and Serena are using a word he's able to understand. And Deku, yeah. How about yes on the extinction? I mean, assuming the planet's similar to Earth, it means, well, you know. Now, Bellicus, he gets his way. And Alien X does gotta change that one thing in the universe. Them moving on to Serena's notion. And Deku, he does at least get a look at Serena. Her currently gonna turn and ask Izuku if he's okay. And Deku, yeah. He has a lot of stuff right now going through his head. Words caught in his throat. Serena, Serena is a bit more concerned. Izuku is quite clearly distracted, and it would make sense. I mean, fact of the matter is, his wife is in danger, and his friends are as well. And that word catches Deku a bit by surprise. His what? Now, Serena will get to change her words, expressing his loved ones are in danger. And fact is, she does understand his current predicament. However, how about they solve that problem after her notion? And she does try to suggest something: the preservation of life on multiple planets. It is a nice little notion. Maybe some place to store DNA and preserve it. Maybe even a way to help stop extinctions, like how cannon-boat species, their home planet was destroyed. And Deku, he does gotta intervene. At least gonna ask Serena, why not just change that? Why not just bring the species back from the dead? I mean, if they're omnipotent, they should know everything. Every species that's been born, that lived, that died. And that's where she does get someone turn staring at Deku. A bit more confused by the question. And Deku just tried to explain. They have omnipotent power. So why not fix everything? I mean, why does war happen on other planets? He's heard about one planet that has been at war for over a century. He's heard about other planets that have been hurt by famine, storms, have had conquerors. I mean, why let Vilgax exist in the first place? And the two, they do stare at Deku. They understand where he's coming from, but that's why they put this up to a vote. Bellicus is rational, yet he's not emotional. He understands that certain things need to happen in the universe for the universe to grow, advance, and be better. But Serena, she's more caring. She shows love towards the creatures that live. Bellicus does not show malice. He just does not play favorites. While Serena, everything in existence is her favorite. And that is where Deku, he's confused. He doesn't understand this being a god thing. I mean, he basically has just had to help wipe out an entire ecosystem of prehistoric creatures. And even then, it didn't feel like he did anything. Yes, he said he was for it, but it just doesn't sit right with him. And that's where he's at. If life will grow and evolve on that planet, then hopefully whatever he just did has reason for. But that's the issue. He doesn't know. And currently Deku, he does try to at least convince them. Go back to his business and allow him to save his friends. They stopped time. They didn't complete his notion. They just put it on pause. He wants to stop Albedo, save everyone he cares about in that building, and stop Albedo. And this wasn't stopping him. Yes, it was the simplest way, but it wasn't what he wanted. He wants his friends to be safe, and he wants them to be okay. He wants Albedo to be locked up or just thrown somewhere in a dark hole. And the two, they do stare at Deku. It does make sense. They took the simplest action they could, the most minimal action. And Izuku, he is making some valid points. But Serena, she does have to bring up another notion: the preservation of life on multiple fronts. And in fact, she even does bring up the hybrid DNA, explaining about how the hybrid species, they are very, very far from where they started. They are corrupted. And Deku, he's confused. The hybrids? The species on Earth? Yes, the preservation of DNA could help. However, I did not believe that it could do much. You don't. Yes, there is a notion that will cause a war. And if that war does happen, then this previous notion will be null and void because they will be destroyed. So why does it matter? Because, in the end, it will go towards helping and salvage multiple species. However, the catalog will take massive damage. Some will be lost, many forgotten, but many also preserved. I don't understand anything about you two. Yes, well, that is to be expected. You are just human. From a Type 3 civilization at that. Did we already pass that notion? What? Never mind. Yes, I can see it. Notion denied. Notion carried. Now, Serena does get a smile. Her expects that her going to say notion carried and granted, as that act is made. And Deku, they do go back to him talking about what he wants to actually happen. And there currently is back in the real world, where Deku, he does stand there as Alien X, and time does go to rewind. Albedo going to actually stand there, bring his hand up his chromostone. Before his hand is going to start him looking down. Before right now he's going to turn back into a human. Him alarmed, looking at himself. Confused if we're going to turn his head. Watching as the building does going to rebuild. And then the ship is going to float back up into the air. And Albedo, he stares on alarmed, turning his head and seeing Alien X. Him both amazed and frightened. A god before him. No. Now, Albedo's gonna run forwards. Him bringing his hand up and trying to smash Deku in the body. Him alarmed since nothing does happen. Him trying to just use his Omnitrix, but nothing's going on. And there currently is where Mina does to walk outside. Her seeing what's going on. It was confusing, but she's okay. And, well, so is Kai. Her looking up. And right now they do see Albedo hitting an alien. And that, it's a bit concerning. For a second, she thought that that was Izuku. But there's the way he's acting. The way he's screwing about it. Using the words Izuku wouldn't use. And that, it's very concerning. Right now, Mina, bring her hand up, and he's going to wrap Albedo up. Him, right now, standing there as he's pulled up into the air, and Mina is going to walk forwards. Her turning her head and staring directly at Alien X. And the pregnancy feels is weird. And Kai does try to ask what that one might be. And Mina, her heart is going to drop. Since that one, that's number 11 if she's correct. The ones she's heard Deku talk about. It must be it, right? So, it'll be okay, right? That in her mind. And Reno Bakugo, he does get to land the ship. Him still a bit confused by everything that happened. I mean, he's got this weird phantom pain in his gut, but he's okay. And that's the strange part. Him walking over and seeing Deku. As Albedo, he currently doesn't stand there. Him still annoyed. And Reno Albedo, he does get sat back down. Bakugo stepping forwards and cracking his knuckles. Talking about how Deku, he might appreciate him doing this. Now, with that being said, Deku, he is stuck in a bit of a debate. They carried his notion and now need to go back to business. Whenever Deku does try to talk about possibly being let go, the two, they stare at him. And they explain. He's a tiebreaker. The first one they've had ever. And this is the quickest business has ever been carried out. He's never leaving. With that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part. And hopefully this re-recording doesn't fucking sound bad with the audio.